Dr. Umar, a lot of people are using their camera phones to go live, and I don't necessarily know how the world looks at us, if they look at us, positive or negative as people of color. So I wanted to ask you, being that it's so easy to go viral, so easy to, use your phone as a source of media, what is the best tactic to employ when you're being ambushed during an interview or you feel like you're being targeted, by people in the comment section or whatever? You're in an interview. What are the best tactics? What are you thinking? What do you suggest people do?
For me, it is a part of the journey. Unfortunately, I think that black media in particular has fallen far away from its original message. When I go back to the first newspaper, Freedom's Journal, that was published by black people in 1831, I want to say, maybe a little sooner, by John Brown Russell, one of the fathers of Pan-African nationalism, and Samuel Cornish. The purpose of the paper was to educate and to advocate for black people. So it spoke up against slavery, it spoke up against lynching, it spoke up against the injustices, educated our people on different things that were being done to disenfranchise us that were not being reported in major white newspapers. And when I look at black media today, it has gotten away from that. Very few media sources, professional and unprofessional, are still dedicated to the original thrust of black media, being to educate and advocate. I see a lot of sensationalism. I see a lot of gossip chasing. I see a lot of character assassination, stuff that, whether it's true or not, isn't going to help black people one bit get to where we need to be. Now, getting to your specific question, for me, again, it comes with the trade, it comes with the craft, it's part of the journey. I've learned to deal with it. Anyone in the public eye has to be able to gracefully deal with it, while at the same time, I do reserve the right to withdraw myself from any context or dialogue or environment where I feel that my character is taking an unnecessary beating. So I do think you have an obligation to clear the air about certain things. So when people said I was stealing the money about the school, okay, yes, you're going to get a few questions about that. But once you clear that air several times, you're still being asked the same question, then that's when either I would say I'm going to decline or I'm just going to remove myself from the interview, because there's enough material out there on me answering that question. Are you really related to Frederick Douglass? There's enough material on me out there answering that question. Do you really have a doctorate degree? There's enough material out there on me answering that question. Not to mention, you can call the degree-granting institution and find out for yourself. So I think once you dealt with a situation, if people continually harass you about that when you've already cleared it up, I do think it's okay to remove yourself. Of course, we're always given the burden as being public personalities to take the high road, to be patient, to always be graceful with our responses, but it can get to be a bit much at times. It really can. And I've seen a lot of public personalities get, ambushed in ways that I think are not appropriate. And I think that just as we have to maintain our etiquette and maintain our professionalism and our grace, I also think that there should be standards for the media as well.
All right, I appreciate that. All right, so Dr. Umar, last question, and it's a loaded question. When you, because I feel this all the time, the cross is very heavy, very, very heavy. It's a very heavy burden to carry. And when you're trying to do something good and people are constantly mocking you or taking situations lightly and you act out, me as a black woman saying, hey, you're angry black woman, as opposed to being passionate. Or, when you've gone beyond a certain point and you're human and people say, well, you need anger management, but even Jesus in the Bible, those of you who believe in the Bible, you act out. When you feel like you're doing so much for people and you've given so much of yourself and people just keep trying to figure out ways to extrapolate even more energy. What do you do when you're in that dark place and you do want to act out and you do want to curse people out? Again, it's just a teachable moment. Is there anything you'd like to say to people, being that you've been in that hot seat and was able to maintain your composure throughout? Just do you want to speak to it at all? I'm going to leave it there.
Well, the first thing that I would say, and, you know, I'm not a big follower of Malik Yoba. I do think he's a pretty good actor. I don't know that much about him, you know, but, you know, from the days of New York Undercover to Empire to other things, I've seen him on. But to some degree, I can understand his anger. Accusing a black male of pedophilia in the age of Me Too is a very, very serious accusation. I mean, Bill Cosby is languishing in a jail right outside of Philadelphia where I am because of accusations that were not proven in court, but yet he was still convicted of. You know, Tavis Smiley, Morgan Freeman, we can go down the list of famous black men who probably have a lot more to lose than Malik Yoba, whose careers were tarnished and or destroyed, who end up in prison because of these type of allegations. Because we live in an era, and we have to be clear about something when it comes to black men. From the beginning of time, this mythology of the black man as a crazed, undisciplined sexual predator has always been with us in American culture. It was fabricated out of thin air to justify the narrative of the black man as an animal, to justify the narrative of the black man as a perpetual criminal. Let's keep in mind, most lynchings, which ravaged America from slavery to Reconstruction, all the way up and even until now, many lynchings were justified under the false allegations of a black man having taken advantage of a white woman sexually. And in almost every one of those cases, it was even admitted by the lynchers. And we got to be clear about that. While at the same time, you see the owner of the Boston, the New England Patriots, Bill Kraft. I don't know if his legal situation is over, but it's clearly been swept under the rug. Harvey Weinstein, charges have been dropped. I mean, there's clearly a double standard in the way that sexual improprieties are dealt with as it relates to black men versus white men. So I can understand his anger because, again, for the black man, you don't have to be proven guilty. You have to be proven innocent. So I do understand where he's coming from because his career can be destroyed with those types of allegations. But at the same time, I do agree with what Charlemagne said, and that is that you do have to be careful with the way in which you do conduct yourself because that type of reaction will make people feel that you are guilty. However, as I said earlier, if people keep bringing it up over and over again and you've already clarified it, I can see the anger. I guess for me, I'm kind of wondering what context under which he reacted with such rage. To me, it appeared that he thought that he may have been private, that there may have been a private expression of anger. I don't think he would have done that knowing he was on camera. So I think that particular rant was probably taped without his knowledge, which brings another point, too, and that is when you're in the public eye, you always have to assume you're being taped. That is a mindset change that I had to make last year because I had videos surface on the internet, nothing that was damaging, nothing that I would be unwilling to claim, but there were people who would tape me audio tape or videotape answering questions about, say, another person in the conscious community or questions about very sensitive topics. And I may have made a joke or I may have offered my honest opinion about another person in the conscious community who I thought and believed, that they were nothing but con artists, not really concerned about helping black people, and it would make its way on YouTube. Although it was my truth or opinion and I would stand by it, it's not necessarily something I wanted to make public. And these are from people who claim to be conscious, who care about black people, who will set you up and take you without your permission and then share it to the world. So now I operate under the assumption that I'm always being taped, because that is the best way to function in order not to get blindsided. And when you're in the political realm, as I am, I'm not an actor, I'm not an entertainer. That's not what I do. My life is very much real. What I'm striving for is very much real. And because I would probably be classified as a political leader, a political organizer, I have to take even more care in what I say and do and how I react, because the power structure as well as jealous black people will go out of their way to misrepresent me so as to castigate other black people from following and getting behind my message. So I would have to be even more careful than even a Malik Yoba, because I'm not in entertainment. For them, they're concerned about the loss of reputation and money. I'm not concerned about the loss of reputation and money. I'm concerned about the loss of the energy that is galvanizing black people to get behind my fight against the school-to-prison pipeline, get behind the funding of the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy, get behind the National Independent Black Parent Association, get behind the Black Wall Street West Africa Project. I have serious projects that I'm trying to create to benefit our people. So for me, I could care less about my reputation in public. I could care less about the money that I make. For me, it's about not alienating black people who I need to support the mission.
Right. So I just want to make it clear, Dr. Umar, is all of this worth it to you?
Is all of it worth it for me? Absolutely, and more.
Okay.
I look at many of my heroes, most of whom are dead now, nearly all of whom were murdered. Nearly everyone had to go through character assassination, imprisonment, and unfortunately, they were, in most cases, set up by people who they trusted in almost every case. I look at Malcolm, El-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz, a Pan-Africanist, child of the Garvey movement, had to go through prison, character assassination, assassinated by the government with the help of jealous Negroes in the black community. Dr. King, same thing, assassinated characterologically as well as physically with the help of jealous people. I go to Africa. I look at Thomas Sankara, the first president of Burkina Faso, assassinated with the help of his own friends. You know, I look at Patrice Lumumba, probably my greatest Pan-Africanist hero from the continent, assassinated with the help of friends. You know, so if they can give their life for this, Nat Turner, if they can give their Gabriel Prosser, if they can give their life for this, then certainly I can give my reputation for this. So it is worth it. There is no price to be paid that is too high for the liberation of African people.
Thank you. Thank you. I definitely appreciate that.